Hey guys, doing another topic video today, and the topic this week is Thanksgiving because that is coming up. So what are movies you like to watch during Thanksgiving? Doesn't necessarily have to be Thanksgiving themed, but you know, something that you watch. So let's go. Let's hear it. In general for me, it tends to be mob movies for one reason or another. But the one I've watched for the past couple of years in a row is Goodfellas. Hands down one of my favorite movies of all time, and definitely Scorsese's best. Just absolutely entertaining on so many levels, from the absorbing story to the quotable lines, great performances, and Scorsese's masterful direction. In particular, the movie's soundtrack might be my favorite of all time. The Layla sequence is about as iconic as it gets. Yeah, I can't disagree with any of this. Mob movies are great for Thanksgiving. I just watched The Godfather pretty recently, and I get why that always plays on AMC every year for Thanksgiving. It's just, there is something about the mob genre that is strangely, ironically, as you say, very comforting. And I think a lot of it is just because it has to do with family. I know not necessarily just the mob family, but family in general, because in the Italian way, family is very important. Tradition is very important, sticking to your own kind and all of that. But also it's got the exaggerated aspects of human life, and that is represented through the mob as a metaphor. So it's very Shakespearean. There's lots of life and death, and the risks are much greater. So it's much more exciting. So yes, absolutely. I think mob movies are the best to watch over Thanksgiving because, again, you're celebrating with your family, hopefully, or your friends, whoever you have. And it's a great thing to get people together. For me, though, I can't disagree with you on anything you say about Goodfellas. It is pretty much a near perfect film. It's, the craft of it, the direction, the lines are amazing. There's so much in that film that is memorable. And I see why you would want to watch it over Thanksgiving. For me, though, and I've mentioned this before, and I know I'm probably going to get killed for it. I said it in my Irishman review. There's something about Martin Scorsese mob vehicles, movies he makes about the mob, that I don't respond to as well as I do maybe something like The Sopranos. The Sopranos is my Thanksgiving thing or my Christmas thing. It's very comforting for me. I watch it and it's just, it's really nice. But also, I think it just takes a lot of those ideas a lot further and really questions the whole idea of consciousness, being more self-aware about how the romanticism of film distorts our realities. It's just got so much more in it that I find more compelling and more interesting just in terms of questions. However, I still understand and respect films like Goodfellas very much. I would like to review it at some point, but it is, I will say, more a movie I appreciate than one that really emotionally resonates with me. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, obviously. Just a delightful odd couple comedy with Steve Martin and John Candy in their prime. Del's I Like Me monologue is so wonderful, and Neil's airport freakout is incredibly cathartic. And I have to admire a film that's willing to take an R-rated hit just to keep one scene in the movie. I love it when movies do that too. I know that it decreases the audience, but it keeps some of the dignity. I have to admit something to you. I saw Planes, Trains, and Automobiles a lot when I asked this question on social media to the fans. I have never seen it. I've never seen it. But I will admit something also to you guys, and I'm sure it's no big surprise. Some people I think have caught on. I'm not that big into the comedy genre. It's not that I don't like, I certainly like comedies, but it's a genre that I struggle with maybe the most. I think it's the hardest one to pull off. It's the hardest one to perform. It's the hardest one to write specifically, and even to direct. It's a really difficult genre. But for whatever reason, I don't know what it is, I just tend to be more drawn to more dark and weird and psychedelic and more emotionally intense films. I guess that's just my personality. I do, of course, like to have a laugh every now and again, but even with The Sopranos, as I was just mentioning, that's a very dark show. But it is hilarious. It is one of the funniest shows I think I've ever seen. And it's technically not a comedy. It's something that has comedic elements. It's something that has dark elements, surreal elements. I like things that are more a blend of genres. But I do love John Candy and I love Steve Martin, so maybe it's something that I should check out. And maybe for Thanksgiving. We'll see. 2006's Casino Royale. It came out during Thanksgiving and it's my favorite Bond film. It just becomes a tradition to watch this right after the Cowboys game. That's an interesting choice. Not one I would have thought of initially, but I will say there is something very cathartic, something really comforting also about James Bond. just because it is that iconic hero that's been around for decades, since, the early 60s. And I admit, James Bond is a guilty pleasure for me. I prefer him to, like, Ethan Hunt, we'll say. And I think we like it because it is a character that has transitioned into the modern era, but still has those 1960s sort of sensibilities. It's still that guy with the martini and the suit, and he can fuck any girl he wants, very much like 1960s Mad Men era. And he's very sophisticated. There's that kind of British sense of humor, as well as those kind of very sexy, sophisticated innuendos. It's got the big horn sections and the cinematography. Yeah, there is a nostalgia to it that people respond to. But I haven't seen every James Bond movie, but I do agree with you. I do think Casino Royale is one of the best Bond movies ever. I would put it maybe up there with like Dr. No and Goldfinger, because it really does find that perfect balance of the nostalgia that we love James Bond and really updating him for 2006 when the movie came out. I do think when I saw Daniel Craig in this film, I thought he was so perfect because yes, he has a brutality to him, a real kind of masculinity that we didn't see, those steely eyes. He's very enigmatic, very complex, and it added all these new layers, I think, to James Bond. And also, again, maintained that British gentleman and the humor of it as well. And also it was just more complex. It's easily the most interesting love story for James Bond. It is, Vesper is the most interesting heroine for sure. It isn't perfect. It has its issues for sure, but I do think it is a strong film. And unfortunately, none of the Daniel Craig films after that, I thought none of them came close. I guess maybe the closest was Skyfall, but it didn't come together for me. But yeah, I can actually see why that would be a really good one. The Wizard of Oz, the TV told me to. All right. The Wizard of Oz is a wonderful film. I don't know if it's something that I, think of necessarily for any big holiday, but it is a movie that is old Hollywood, grand spectacle. The Technicolor is really vibrant and beautiful, and it really doesn't feel dated. It fits along the lines of Gone with the Wind for me. And of course, they both came out the same year by the same director, just in the sense that, there's something very special about those movies, those old movies that we just don't get today, we'll never see again. So yeah, if it's a holiday, and I'm at home and I'm bored with the family, have nothing to do, and if I'm flipping channels and Gone with the Wind is on, oh my God, I'm stopping what I'm doing and I'm watching that movie, because it's a movie that no matter what, I get hooked into it. And Wizard of Oz is similar, but just in a very different way, but it is so special. Wizard of Oz, I've always kind of approached as an adult, at least, more from like a psychedelic point of view. It's like as if somebody is going on a trip and, when they go on this long journey, they find their way back home, they realize what's important to them. And that's what Dorothy really does, essentially. But you can look at it in all sorts of ways. It is kind of like the perfect, for people who are interested in writing scripts, if you're interested in writing stories, the best thing to do is study the hero's journey. And anytime I'm giving people ideas for how to do that, I always say, this is a perfect movie. Wizard of Oz, perfectly structured, perfectly follows very clearly the hero's journey. So really focus on that and look that up. Same with something like Star Wars, movies like that. They're just kind of, they're children's stories. When I was a little girl, The Wizard of Oz was just like, it was another world to me. The moment when Dorothy opens the door from her black and white world and sees the color, I will never forget how that made me feel. Just a little girl. It made me believe anything was possible. In my imagination, in my life, and in movies, anything is possible. There are no movies today that capture that sense of innocence and that beauty to me. Possession from 1981, because it's a movie about family. What is wrong with you? Okay. That's funny. That's really funny. I'm not sure if you're serious or not, but you're right. It is about family. I would not say it's the kind of family story that brings people together at all. But, of course, Possession is one of my favorite movies of all time. And somebody like me, I would watch it for Thanksgiving. No joke. I certainly would. But, I'm not like other people. I remember for Christmas one year, I think I was like 19, I watched Audition and A Clockwork Orange back to back on Christmas Eve. So, if that gives you an idea of the kind of person I am, it doesn't matter what the holiday, I'll watch anything really dark and twisted. And Possession is certainly dark and twisted. It's a really special film. So I would only recommend that if you're one of those people where you just don't care, you don't mind being, completely tripped out and seeing some really grotesque and dark shit. then maybe this is the movie for you. But otherwise, I would save it for another occasion. I honestly can't think of one. I'm usually with friends and family. No football games allowed, no movies, only good food and conversation. Reality rules. Alas, I am in a country where Thanksgiving doesn't exist now. It is something I miss. That's really wonderful. I like this person. I think that you've got a good handle on it. Sometimes it's good not to watch a movie and no football game. But, I'm not a fan of football at all. It is nice to have real conversations. And that's partially why I have no interest really in watching movies for fun or with people that often, because I look at it as kind of work. I do that for this. And then outside of it, I really want to be there talking to people and really experiencing life. And I think, with a holiday like Thanksgiving, where it's meant to be about being surrounded by loved ones and all that, it's good to maybe just spend the time together. Now, of course, it can also be nice to watch movies. That can be a really great bonding experience. All being together and experiencing something together is really great. But I do kind of like this idea that you're saying here. I would love if my family didn't watch football every Thanksgiving, because I hate football. Yet my whole family loves it. So I'm always like in the other room trying to find something to do while they're watching that. And also, yes, when you experience a holiday and then you don't get exposed to it because you live in another area of the world, I can totally understand that. But yeah, that's just an idea of some of the things that you guys like to watch for Thanksgiving, and some of the things that I like to watch. Like I said, Godfather, The Sopranos is a huge one for me. Hook used to be a big one. Not because it's good, but just because it's, I don't know, it always played on AMC or something every Thanksgiving, and I would watch it, and it just became part of my childhood for a while. So a lot of guilty pleasures and stuff like that. But yeah, that is the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Here are my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys, as always. The link to support that is below. Also, if you are a Patreon supporter and you already know this, I am doing a special sale, a holiday sale for my commission portraits, if that's something that you are interested in. For those of you who don't know, yes, I am an artist. I do commissioned portraits and I sell artwork prints. All of that is on my website, deepfocuslens.com. Let me know if you're interested. You can DM me, you can email me. Those do make good holiday gifts or birthday gifts, whatever. Beyond that though, all of my social media information is below. You can watch more videos here and you can subscribe if you'd like. Catch you next time.